Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yusuf Sumaatmaja. I'm a student at State Islamic University of Jakarta, and at this moment, I want to share my thought and review a book called Rewriting Islam by Miss Hasnul Insani Djohar. So before we deep dive to a book, we need to know a brief about the author first. So I'm quoting from AMINF. AMINF stands for American Indonesian Exchange Foundation. So she is the head of department and senior lecturer in the English department at Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University. She holds a bachelor's degree in English and Arabic from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, a master's degree in English from Central Michigan University, and a doctorate in English from the University of Exeter, UK. Yeah. And her recent articles include the intersection of American and Bildungsroman in American Muslim women's fiction. Yeah, and also she is the founder and editor-in-chief of the journal Muslim English Literature. Yeah, so as we know, it is obvious the experience and knowledge that the author has to finally decided to make a book that aims to fight for the rights of Muslim women who are affected by the bad values of Orientalism. And we deep dive to the book. So Rewriting Islam was published in the fairly recent year of August 2024. Rewriting Islam is a book about the author's research on literary works written by Muslim women that challenge the ideas of Orientalism that have been suppressing and even oppressing Muslims in the world. Therefore, the author conducted painstaking research in order to eliminate the perception of bad perception of Islam by Orientalists. Rewriting Islam by Hasnul Insani Djohar explore how contemporary Muslim women writers address themes of social and gender justice within post-colonial and Islamic studies framework. The book examines a range of literature including novels, poetry, memoir, and short stories. And also Ms. Hasnul Insani Djohar highlights the author like Mojaka, Franda Jarar, Laila Lalami, J. Willow Wilson, analyzing how their narrative challenge Western perspective on Islam and Muslim identities. The book places emphasis on Muslim women as they navigate identities and struggle for justice, often as minorities in Western concepts. Through close reading, the author explores how this rather decolonized notion of justice criticize imperialism and emphasize interconnectedness and spirituality. The works consider it over a critical lens on issues like immigrant rights and anti-Muslim racism, reflecting the broader intersections between gender identity and diaspora in globalized world. So we should go more deeper to the book, and I want to highlight some kind of things that for me is interesting. So I want to highlight and I want to discuss here. I want to highlight the chapter 5. So this is the quote. Moreover, Wilson alludes to Surah Al-Baqarah, which explains how human beings, including women and lower classes, are equal, as they are not only derived from the one root of Adam and Hawa, but also are born mainly to worship or to find God's way, which promotes the ideas of collectivism covered in the 5 pillars of Islam. I personally totally agree with this argument, where we are created equal by God and no one can distinguish the gender, social class, or anything else. For example, in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hujurat verse 13, which reads, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. So, the most noble people on the side of Allah are those who have taqwa. Yeah, that's the meaning of the surah. So from this we can see that even God does not distinguish his creatures at all. Like the ugly ones are worse, and the handsome ones are better. But God sees the best based on taqwa. The next thing that I highlight that I think this is interesting to share is that is still in the chapter 5, and this is the quotation. The supremacy is derived from how Westerners or Orientalists perceive Islam and Muslim as threats and enemies. Page 95. I quite agree with this argument, where Muslim peoples are often perceived as terrorists or something that will bring disaster, especially after 9/11, where almost all discourse in America reported bad things about Muslim. A study conducted by media Tenor found the most Western media coverage tends to present Islam in the context of violence and extremism, especially after the 9/11 attacks. This misconception eventually grow human Islamophobic. People who had the presence of Muslim, the constant coverage of terrorist acts committed by Muslim extremist group reinforce the stereotype that Islam is associated with violence. This misconception has led to the growth of Islamophobia, people who hate the presence of Islam and fear of them. Yeah. And I want to highlight the last thing that for me is interesting is there's in a chapter 3. So this is the quotation. Kaf uses the strategy of juxtaposition between ancient and modern to create a tone of humor and irreverence. Humor and irreverence work gently critic than brutally dismantle and destroy oppressive, patriarchal, and imperialist discourse. Me personally agree about the author's argument here, because where the use of humor and criticism is used as a soft tool to slowly tear down. Meaning that humor here is used to gently criticize something. This works better, in my opinion, than having to use something hard in criticizing something else. Yeah. And I think that's all the things that for me is interesting, and then I highlighted. So here we are. We arrived to the conclusion. So the conclusion is that this book tries to eliminate the bad image of Muslim, both male and female Muslims, on the widespread Orientalist values, with various efforts made by the author and the argument against. It can certainly provide an understanding of something that has not been in line. I personally like this book. I can say 8 out of 10 for this book. And I also want to recommend it to anyone who interested in topic that oppose Orientalist ideas and want to fight for the rights of oppressed Muslim. And maybe just this from me, maybe just this short review from me. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.